Joey Reese and Big Food Shop.
Let's move on to the next question. Next question, Kevin Brennan asks, what's the best advice you ever got, and what's the worst advice you ever got?
Oh, man. You got an answer for this? I'll have to think about it. Best advice and worst advice.
If I'm going by best advice that I ever received while in the Insiders, I think the best advice I ever received, and I've already talked about it on the show because I think about it a lot, is the advice from you, where you once stated, if you go into a restaurant, the grossest thing on the menu is usually the best. And I know it's corny to say as far as the best advice I've ever got, but with that, it was, I've used that over and over in my life. I've actually said that to other people when I've done that and looked on the menu and thought, oh, that's nasty, I'm going to try that. One of the best beers I've ever had in my life, there was a microbrewery in Royal Oak here called River Rouge. And I walked in there, and they kind of had all these crazy flavors. And I looked up, and the one that they had is called an I-75 IPA. And it's a IPA, and after they make it and after they keg it, they put basil leaves
Really?
in the keg. And so it's a basil IPA. So you have this grapefruity IPA with basil.
Huh.
And I thought, that sounds disgusting. I'll have it. And that was that advice. And it ends up, it's top three favorite beers of all time. It was delicious. And then I turned other people on. People are like, that's nasty. I'm like, just try it. Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. So that advice worked.
I got to get you to hang out with my kids. Just be like, hey, your dad told me this, and he's right. Because they're just like, no, they won't try anything.
Oh, my kids are great. My kids eat all sorts of stuff. I've been blessed with them with the stuff like growing up that I'm like, hey, try this. That normal kids would be like, heck no.
Yeah.
My kids from a little age, they were eating broccoli and cauliflower and asparagus and all of that stuff.
We've talked about this. My kids only eat things that are yellow. It's like chicken McNuggets, corn dogs, macaroni and cheese, pizza. Pizza, like cheese pizza. It has to be this certain shade of yellow.
Oh, boy. And I would say the worst advice I ever got was sign a record deal. That was probably the worst.
Oh, man.
Like, looking back on it, it was like, oh, like, you know, the people nowadays, they, like, young kids, if you guys are listening and you're 20-year-olds or stuff like that, or if, shoot, it doesn't matter how old you are, if you're, like, trying to get it going nowadays, whether it's a podcast, to have all this, like, you can just connect with somebody in, like, Pakistan with, like, the click of a button. You can make fans all over the world and, like, never be on a record label. To be able to do that now, I wish it was like that in the 90s.
It was not. You had to have a deal.
It was not. You had to have a deal or you were not being heard.
And not just that. Like, you had to... The more mainstream, the more of a major your label was, or the majors owned hundreds of smaller labels.
Yeah.
Or they distribute them, like 5 Minute Walk. But like if you got in there, you could somehow get into their system where you get played on radio, you know.
Yeah.
Otherwise you die. There's so many bands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was about it. Like, as far as like our bad, I had some stuff said to me that I always thought was funny. We had, I had a lead singer of a pretty popular band who now I've made up with him, but for the longest time we did not like this guy. He didn't even know that I didn't like him. He didn't even realize that he offended me.
It was me, wasn't it, Joe?
And yes, and I hated him. I hated him for decades, and it was only a couple years ago that he like popped up on my Facebook. I sent him a message. We started talking and kind of like patched everything up, and he had no clue. But I had a guy tell me once that their band opened for us in like Evansville, Indiana, or something like that, and basically he was like, his band was like this like just goofy, weird kind of goth band.
Okay.
And then he told me that I should start finding another band. Like the Insiders, we should do something else. We should try a different style of music because ska's just a fad. And he's like, you know, he basically, what I didn't like is he said, like, yeah, we'll see where you guys are in a month, is what he told me to like my face. And so I was kind of like, wow. And that's when our popularity was kind of rising. So it wasn't a month. I mean, ska was definitely a fad, and it crashed a few years later, but we got probably another 3-4 years out of it when he said that we were only going to be around another month. So that type of like, I don't know if you'd call it advice, but like that type of stuff where he was like, oh, find something else because your music style is crap. I disagreed because it's part of me. I listen to it every single day. I've said that before. Not a day goes by where at least one song isn't popping up on a playlist or while I'm at work or something where I'm listening to ska.
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of the joke's on him, but at the same time, ska was a fad, and you know, it came to an end.
But Joe,
But so did his band.
you loved ska. You still love ska so much.
Yeah, for sure.
I've just come to the
Yeah.
point where I am just now loving ska. Like loving it more than I ever have. I think I loved the upbeatness and the happiness, you know, because I'd been listening to metal and punk, and so it was just like, oh, this is cool. This is happy and horns. You know, like I loved it, but not to the extent that you did, man. I'm just now
Yeah.
there. Like I'm just now like listening to Prince Buster and the Skylights. Just like this
Yeah.
is so cool. I feel
Yeah.
so blessed to be a part of ska, like the history of ska. I could have cared less in the 90s. Like I was excited about it for about 2 years, and then I was just like, if I have to hear one more ska band, I'm gonna shoot myself in the face. And yeah, now it's like finally something I'm starting to love. But you loved
Yeah.
it. So why would you take that advice from that dude?
Yeah, exactly. No, it was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But no, it is something for me. Like you talked about, just, you know, I do think of things that when you're young, it's like anything when you're young, like you might be embarrassed of your parents, or you may be embarrassed of like a style of clothes that you wore or something like that. Then you grow out of it and you look back and you're like, what was I embarrassed of my parents for doing that? Because now you do it with your kids, or whatever the case may be. You learn to have that appreciation for it. And so, I mean, I definitely went through that phase where when something is popular, when that wave crashes, when it's no longer a fad, I definitely went through that period where I was like, I didn't necessarily want to tell people that I was in a ska
Yeah.
band. I was probably like, oh yeah, I was in a punk band or something like that, and I'd leave the word ska out of it. Now I kept listening to it. I always listened to it because I love the style. But as far as telling people, I probably shied away from that. And then when people would always bring up like, oh yeah, do you remember skanking? And like, that's still pretty embarrassing, watching a bunch of white kids stand around in a circle and like kick their feet. There's a big difference between like that skanking and people who actually know how to do it. And like that cool rhythmic moving, and like you got the whole look, whether you're a rude boy, whether you're a skin, whether you're a rude girl. you get the look, you get the the feeling and the groove going in the dancing, and it's amazing. It's something that I'm like, yes, I am proud. Just like you said, I'm proud to be a part of that culture, to be a part of that history of that. I love it.
It's so cool.
And then you
like it is so
cool. And then you switch it over to a bunch of kids in like jean shorts, cargo jean shorts with an insider's orange shirt on, and they're kicking their Skechers as fast as they can, and you're like, dude, what is that?
What?
Like, that's embarrassing.
But like the history of ska, the fact that it was like rebellious music in Jamaica, that those immigrants went to the UK, and instead of it becoming like, oh, this is black music and this is white music, like the white kids were just like, this is so cool. It was all about integration and like accepting their culture and like all those bands like Madness and the Specials, like they were mixed race bands, which was just insane at the time. And that's what ska was. It was like this mixing of culture and ideas and just trying to be accepting and definitely like to fight against racism and like especially like in the second wave, it was like the working class Jamaicans that had been there and then just like the working class white kids like bonding together and fighting. So cool. And even like even the third wave, just at the beginning, it was just like so punk rock and so just like against like listen to Op Ivy. It's so cool. It's so tough and cool. And then it just became like this commercial goofy thing. Yeah. And I think now like that has finally kind of died out and it's become like, oh, this is cool. Like this music is cool. Yeah, it is.
I mean, you have like the Interrupters that have come back in a big way. You have bands like Barstool Preachers, Streetlight Manifesto, like all those bands that have like come what I would call like that fourth wave. Yeah. And the fourth wave is probably closer to the second wave than the third wave was. Right. The third wave took the ideas, but the style of music was a lot harder, and it was a lot more punk in it. And it seems like this fourth wave has gone back to almost a little more two-tone. Yeah. Like it's less rancid, it's less a real big fish, and it's more two-tony with a hipper packaging maybe. But that's what I liked. And one thing that you said that struck a chord with me, and I'm just kind of spitballing here and I'm kind of thinking off the cuff, and if I thought this through, I don't know if maybe this is correct, but what I started thinking about when you were talking about coming from Jamaica and integrating, the main thing there of what you said is the integration. It wasn't Elvis Presley stealing black music. Right. It wasn't Jerry Lee Lewis stealing, Little Richard's runs and stuff on the piano. It wasn't like white people coming in and just saying like this style of music across the tracks is awesome and we're going to steal it for ourselves and play it and make money. It was for reals integration. Yeah. It was the white kids and the black kids coming up with a brand new sound. It wasn't just white kids taking reggae, or it wasn't reggae at the time. Ska was a precursor to it. So it's not like, it wasn't like these white kids took the first wave of ska and just recreated it and made money being who they were. It was the white kids and the black kids coming together and then making a whole new sound. Yeah. Like a whole new sound. And that's what I think is cool, was it was true integration. And when I see that black and white checkerboard, that means something to me. Like that might be corny to somebody else. Like nowadays, girls and boys might go to Hot Topic and they get a black and white checkered like belt, and they don't know what goes into that. But that is that's the integration. When I see that black and white checkerboard, when I see a race flag at the end, for like a NASCAR race, and they're waving the checkered flag for the winner, like my brain, it doesn't look at like, oh, that's the finish line. I see that and I say unity, because that's what that means to me, And so that's what I always thought was cool, and being a part of that in history and being a part of that movement. And that, to me, with the Insiders, I don't, people listening to this, and if you've ever bought one of our albums or listened or come to a concert, like maybe with what was presented on stage, you might not look at it and be like, oh yeah, I can hear Bob Marley and the Wailers in there. I can hear the Scatolites in there. I can hear Prince Buster. I can hear, Madness. I can hear, whatever it is, the Toasters, starting to get more like relevant and not so old. Like you might not have heard that on coming out of the mains at an Insiders show, but what went into the writing was that.
Yeah.
The specials were in there. We were, because we as teenagers, we were listening to the specials. We were listening to the Pogues. Now I know Pogues aren't ska, but the Pogues were a part of that scene, with the Irish and then the Jamaican culture all coming into England at the same time, and these clubs where the Sex Pistols came out of and all this stuff. So we could get into that another time. But all that made us who we were. So I don't know. I'm kind of going on a tangent. I'm kind of bored listening to myself talk.
It's a good tangent, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Joey Reese and Big Red Boot Shop.
I have another thing here, another question from Steve Morrow. Mm-hmm. And Steve asks, during the Ska-Mania tour, why didn't the Insiders play the last 3 shows?
Have we talked about this
Because
before?
I don't think I knew the answer. And so I figured out what the answer was.
It was like over Thanksgiving.
Oh, so we did talk about that?
I don't think we did, but I think that's why.
Yes. So every year, the Insiders, just to make this answer to this one quick, the Insiders, every Thanksgiving, we would stop, because between Thanksgiving and New Year's Eve, we would all go back and work for our church. So most of us went to the Salvation Army.
Uh-huh.
And so the Salvation Army has a huge like Christmas push program, feeding the homeless, feeding, the needy, all of that. Those red kettles when you come out of stores and you can drop money in the red kettle. The Insiders, we would help with that. And so our churches, I don't want to say they depended on us because they could find somebody to help do it, but we enjoyed doing it, and we thought it was part of our ministry.
So
it was
cool,
part of
man.
the stuff we like to do. So those shows that fell after Thanksgiving, that was the reason. So I think everybody else flew back to the West Coast. We broke for Thanksgiving, and then we had those last 3 shows after Thanksgiving. But the Insiders, we were busy doing red kettles and doing all that stuff. So then Squad jumped on those shows.
Yeah.
So that's why we weren't able to do it.
And as I remember, they weren't very good shows. So for me, what I remember is we did not fly back. We drove back. And it was Thanksgiving Day. Like, we had the day before Thanksgiving with our family. And our family was like, why can't you be here tomorrow?
But the turkey.
Where are you going? To the musical group you're on? Don't. What? Please, no. Everybody's family did that. And then here we are driving in the bus. Everybody probably stayed up too late because they were just like, I got to spend some time with my family. I've been on tour for 6 months. And then we drive.
Right, exactly.
It's Thanksgiving. And here is the not my most shining moment as being Reese Roper is I was driving the bus. Everybody's sad. There was crying when we were leaving because nobody wanted to go and to go back on tour. It was overcast. It was just barely like cold and snowing. Not barely cold. It was freezing. But like, you know, like when it gets cold and there's no clouds, or it's like
Yes.
cold and it's not snowing, but it's so cold that any humidity just turns into snowflakes.
Yes.
That happened. So it was just nasty, overcast. We're in the bus. We had to drive to Portland.
Okay.
We had to be there the next day. And it was like, we were going to drive all day and all night. So we leave early in the morning, Thanksgiving. We're driving. And somebody gave us a Bible study workbook that we were trying to do
course.
weekly. And it was that day. It was Thursday. Thursdays we were doing this Bible study. So the guys in the back of the guys in the band are doing the Bible study. They're reading through it. And I'm driving. We're all pissed. Like everybody's sad. And I just remember the Bible study was about including other people and trying to go out of your way to make people feel special and accepted. So they're reading it, and I'm driving the school bus, and it was loud. I think we made some modifications, but we had just gotten it, and it was like it had the original springs in it, so it was meant for like having 50-something kids in it. So it was tight.
Okay.
It was like loud. It would bounce around a lot. Engine was loud. And I'm driving, and I can't hear them talking because they're kind of leaning in to talk to each other. And I'm like, hey, guys, can you talk up? Because I want to be in the Bible study. I'm like, please, like, I need Jesus now. I'm so sad. And they were kind of like, for about the first 3 times, they were like talking louder, but annoyed. And everybody's pissed. And then finally they were just like, dude, just shut up and drive. And I was like, hell no. I like locked up the brakes, pulled over, and was just like, you motherfuckers. Like, this is a Bible study about
Right.
including people and caring. And you fuckers can't even talk louder so I can hear and get Jesus in my heart. You know?
Right.
Leonore's bawling, like just crying sheets. Like everybody was already sad, and I just called everybody like motherfuckers, and I'm like, you assholes, you suck. And then I just like, they were just like, okay, well, you should keep driving. And I was just like, both middle fingers up, driving. Drove. We stopped at like Little America, which is basically a rest stop. It's just this giant Wyoming rest stop. And we went in and they had some sort of buffet for Thanksgiving. And everybody's either crying or just like, fuck you guys. Just pissed.
Oh.
So pissed.
Oh,
Eating, calling home to their parents like, what are you eating now, gravy? What does it taste like? I'm at a rest stop. Reese yelled at everyone.
Oh.
The worst. Like
I
one
have
of
a
the
urinal
worst
cake
moments
stuck
in
to my
Firelight.
shoe.
We'll have to have Leonore on and ask her about it because
Maybe
she's still sad.
You can't be on next week. Maybe I should get her on.
Oh yeah, ask her about this.
Yeah.
Also, you need to ask her about all the what her body count is on making out with dudes.
I will.
Okay.
I'm writing these down. Ask Leonore about Thanksgiving.
1998. When Reese
And-
yelled at everyone.
And body count.
And body count for makeouts.
I think I talked to her on Average Jerks about the makeout body count.
She may not be open about it, but We were.
She was pretty open.
Oh, okay.
She was pretty open.
We were
Yeah, she
somewhat
taught-
aware. Like, Leonore has this type, and they're always hanging out with her, and we think she's making out with them. Like John from Squad 5-0. That dude has got some Leonore lip prints all over him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I can't remember if it made it on the air or if it got cut. So I don't know what I can say. But she definitely talked about it. So you guys look for the Leonore Average Jerks podcast interview. And I think she definitely talks about some of it.
Okay.
All right. So let's get to the next question. Let me see. Let's see. Lane Helms. Lane Helms wants to know, have you ever seen a ghost?
Do you want to answer this?
Have you? Have you ever seen a ghost?
Dude, I feel like one, I'm not sure if I believe in ghosts. For a long time, I was like, I do not. I just felt like, this would be a perfect way for the devil to just kind of slowly convince people that when they die, they don't have to give account for their lives. So that was my feeling. I don't think my theology lines up with that anymore. And I don't know, man. After being a nurse, there's a lot of stories about people seeing ghosts of people or just feeling things. And I don't know if there's definitely something supernatural. So I don't know if it's demonic or that person's soul is still there. But I would always just be like, because I worked a lot in nursing homes as a nurse, and to me, that's the answer. Like, every day you see a ghost. Like, you see the ghost of that person. They were, a year ago, like, alive. Like, that person was alive.
Yeah.
And now they're, like, part of them is still trapped in that body, and they need to go. And
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And that's the ghosts I've seen the most is people with dementia.
So I have kind of two stories, one kind of funnier than the other one. So I'll start with the funnier one. So when the Insiders was just getting going, we were just a fledgling band. It was just more friendship and kind of playing around before we kind of went national. And one summer, a few of us me and Nate decided, and his brother Mike decided to drive to Wisconsin, pick up a friend of theirs that lived in Kenosha, and then we were going to drive to this huge Salvation Army camp that's in Wisconsin called Camp Wonderland.
Okay.
And we were going to spend a week at Camp Wonderland, where all these kids go from all these Salvation Armies, and it's like a Bible leadership institute, like all this stuff. It's really cool. So we drive, but we're not students. We're not participating in the camp. We're just going to hang out and kind of cause a ruckus.
Okay.
So we go to pick up their friend that lives like in Kenosha, and the plan was, we drove all day to get there, and then we were going to sleep at his house that night. And as we're like getting close, Nate and his brother Mike are like, "Hey, we just need to tell you that his house is haunted." And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, house is haunted." I'm like, "Don't believe you. I don't believe in ghosts." So they're like, "No, seriously. When they bought this house, they were gutting it, and in the basement, they found a room with like a fake wall. When they knocked that wall down, this room that was in there, the only thing that was in there was a table with a Ouija board.
No.
Yeah. So the only
You're
thing that was in there
kidding,
was a
dude.
table.
Okay. Keep
was
going.
this. So in the backyard, they had a bonfire, and they threw all the wood from the fake wall, and they threw all that, and they were burning it, and they threw the Ouija board in the fire. So they burned this Ouija board. After that, they said all this crazy stuff started happening in the house. They said there would be like a dude that they'd be eating breakfast and they would hear the basement steps, like somebody was running up the basement steps. And they would hear it, and then it would go up the basement steps, go around the landing, and then run up the next flight of stairs. So they would hear this all the time. Things in the house would be moved all the time. And this all happened after they burned a Ouija board. And then also, one of the other stories was that one night, one of the kids that lived there opened their eyes while they're laying in bed, opened their eyes, and there was just a dude that was described as like old school, like an old school executioner. Black pants, no shirt, black hood on. Standing at the foot of the bed, just staring at him.
No.
So they scream bloody murder, and this executioner guy disappears. They're terrified. They can't get back to sleep. Eventually, a few weeks go by or whatever, and they finally like sleep back in their room or whatever the case was. They fall asleep. Mind you, this isn't my story. This is their story.
Okay.
This same sibling wakes up the next time. The dude is standing closer, not down at the foot of the bed. They wake up and they're standing right next to him. And they say that they are levitating 1 foot off of the bed. This is what this sibling says.
Dude.
So at this point,
put your house on the market. Call
Right.
the realtor and just be like, hey, whatever anybody offers for this, a bag of peanut brittle, let's do it. Let's take it.
Let's do it. Let's get out of here. So we get there. I've heard these stories. So I'm like, dude, I don't believe in ghosts. I'm like, I'm going to sleep in this house, no problem. So we get there. I end up getting the room that their grandmother dies in. So that's the bed that I'm going to sleep in. We get there. I'm sleeping. I'm all set up. We're up in the upstairs where most of this craziness happens.
Yeah.
Nate and Mike are going crazy. Like, they're like, dude, we can't do it. We tried. We can't do it. So I'm like, you're a baby. So they go out and they sleep in the minivan that we drove there in. I'm sleeping in the room that Grandma died in. And all of a sudden now I'm alone. Like, those guys aren't there. They're down in the
They
in
were
the
supposed
minivan.
to sleep in that room with you?
Yeah, like on the
man.
floor. Like, we were all supposed to sleep in there. So it's now getting in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I can't do this.
Yeah.
So I go out and I get in the van too. Well, the joke part of my story is I never saw a ghost. I never did any of that. It was all in my head that I got too scared. But when we were in the van, we're sleeping in the van at night. It's dark. You can't see anything in the van. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a picture to remind myself of this night. So I have one of the old school, like, disposable cameras. So I hold it up like I'm taking a selfie. And then they're like, Nate and Mike are sleeping like on the floor of we had taken the seats out of this minivan, except the back seat. So I'm on the back seat and then they're on the floor. So I take it up, I take a picture, and so I take a picture and I hear Mike go, what'd you just do? And I go, I took a picture. He goes, why? And I go, just to remember, like, this night of us at this thing. And he's like, okay. So we do this whole thing. We do the camp. We get home. I turn in the camera to like Walgreens or whatever it is. I get it developed. When I get it developed, in that picture is me doing like a selfie. Nate's asleep and Mike has his wiener out. He was like
Cranking one out.
like in the dark, he was like itching his wiener or something, but it's out. And so,
Itching his wiener or just cranking one out.
so it's in the photo. It's in the photo. So for the longest time, I had this picture of my buddy's brother, who was also a friend of mine, with his junk out. And then when he got married, I gave it to his wife. I put it in the wedding card. I put like money in the wedding card, and then I put that photo in there.
Gosh.
So
No ghost in it.
But no ghost in it. So that's my first ghost story. And then my second one is, and this is for reals. This is absolutely for reals. I never believed in ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts. I'm the same as you. Like, I mean, I think to myself, like, there's a spirit world around us that we can't see.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know the justification of a ghost. And so I did not believe in them, whatever. So my first wife, Leslie, me and the girls lived in a house here in Royal Oak. And one night, I'm sitting there and I'm watching TV, and I'm sitting on like a love seat that's facing the TV. Then to my left is a couch that's turned sideways, so it's not facing the TV, it's facing the other way.
Okay.
Next to that is a table with a lamp on it. Mm-hmm. I'm watching TV, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a little girl peek around the lamp. So I think to myself, like, man, like,
No.
my eyes are playing tricks on me. You know what? Whatever I just saw, like, that was weird. It's my brain playing tricks. So then, a couple days go by, watching TV again. Same thing happens. I see this figure out of the corner of my eye, and I see it. Well, now we've lived in that house like 2 years.
Yeah.
And over the course of 2 years, I saw this little girl like multiple times, and she, you know, she's like a little girl, like she probably looked like she was like 6 years old, 5 years old, wearing a dress, brown hair, big eyes, and she would always be like in the hallway that was right there on the other side of the lamp. And then if the door was open to go upstairs into like our kids' room, she would go up the stairs, and then that's where she would vanish.
Dude.
Again, I would have never in a million years thought I would ever be telling this story because I did not believe in ghosts. Mm-hmm. Even though all this happened, I never said a word to anyone because I was like, no one's going to believe me. Like, it's just, no one's going to believe me. Nothing in our house is being moved. Nothing is being lost. So people talk about good ghosts and bad ghosts. Like, I think she would have been a good ghost because nothing ever happened.
Bro.
So then one day we're at a party and the topic of ghosts come up. And Leslie and I, still married at the time, she looks at me and she sees in me that I want to say something because I wasn't going to tell her
talk to
because I
her
didn't
about
want
it?
No, because I
really?
didn't want to scare her.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I didn't
that's
want to
smart.
scare her.
I would have just
So
told my
we're-
wife, I'm like, we're moving. Hey,
Yeah.
I saw
So
this. Yeah.
yeah, so it comes up at this party, and Leslie says that she has seen a ghost. And I'm like, where have you seen a ghost? And she's like, you're not going to believe me. And I go,
Try me.
At our house. Yeah, I go at the house that we're living in now. And she's like, yep. And I said, is it the little girl in the dress with the brown hair and like the big old doll eyes? And she's like Leslie went white. And she was like, you've seen her? And I was like, yeah.
Bro.
And Leslie goes, she peeks around the lamp almost every night.
Bro.
And I was like, yes, she does. So Leslie and I described her to a T to each other and what she does. Leslie was like, does she run up the stairs every now and then? Absolutely. I'd never told this to anyone. That at this party was the first time that Leslie and I talked about it, and she described stuff that I hadn't brought up, and then I had brought stuff up that she was like, yep, I've seen that. How do you know that? So we had this little girl like ghost that would like be in the hallway and then run up the stairs.
Yeah. I used to not believe it. I just thought it was like demonic, and it was like demons trying to convince people that when we die, our souls don't go to judgment. But I don't know about that anymore. I don't even know how I feel about judgment anymore. You know, like, so you have reminded me of something. We can do an entire show. I want to talk about, like, I don't know if I'm just susceptible to this or what, but like demonic shit that has happened to me. Like where I'm like, it's not ghosts, it's demons. I'm positive. So, but like this was not that. And it's not so much a ghost story as this to me is one of the things that confirms why I believe in Christ, like why I'm a Christian, is that so in the summers I would live at my grandmother's for junior high and high school, who lived in Bowling Green, Ohio, right down the road from the National Tractor Pulling Championship. Yeah. So my grandpa died in 1975, and then my dad's youngest brother, Todd, he was married to this really pretty girl. He was driving, this had to be like 1980. It's probably, he was just newly married. They had a newborn baby, my cousin Alyssa, in the back seat. They're driving. My uncle had like a convertible Cadillac. It's this cool old, like 1965 convertible Cadillac. Driving in the back roads, and my uncle was pretty wild back in the day. I don't know if he had been drinking. I don't think so. But somebody had put like a combine on the road, like a piece of farm equipment, and it didn't have reflectors on it or anything. And he's driving. It's late at night, like super dark. He sees it and then ducks, but she didn't and got decapitated. Oh, so she died like when I was a kid, and I had met her once, and it was, I guess a big deal for my sister and I. Was like the first person that we knew that had died. But she was young. She was like 19. So this is years later, like 1990. I stayed with my grandmother all summer. I just remember I had this dream, like, and everybody has dreams where you're aware you're dreaming, like it's very lucid.
Yeah.
So I was having that, like I dreamt that I was on my grandma's back porch, and I was drawing something, or I was doing something, and all of a sudden, I'm gonna get choked up. I should have warned you. Every time I tell this story, man. All of a sudden, I see my grandfather, who I had met once when I was 3. I see him come up the back, like the walk, with my aunt Tara, and they're like, they come up and they knock on the door, and I'm like, hey, come on in. And they're like, hey, how are you? Like they're not quite sure that I'm aware of who they are. But I'm like, also, I'm dreaming and I'm aware of this, but it's super lucid. So they're they come and they're asking me about school, about swim team, about what I'm drawing, how I am, how my parents are. And then I remember my grandpa just kind of patting me on my back and being like, well, we just wanted you to know we're proud of you.
Oh, man.
And we love you, but we have to go. And I was just like, I woke up crying. Just like, that seems so real. I remembered my grandpa's voice from when I was 3. And that was exactly how Tara was. I remembered them. They seemed so happy. And there was something in there, like in that dream that was like not a dream. It was so real. Like I could read in their eyes that they knew I was aware of it.
Yeah.
And so I woke up crying. So just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what a strange and beautiful and lucid dream I just had. How wonderful it is. And I got up out of bed and I went upstairs to see if my grandma was awake. Because I wanted to tell her, like, Grandma, I just had this incredible dream about these people that you love. And she was sitting at the table in the dining room. And she looked a little bit shaken. And I was like, hey, Grandma, what's up? Like, are you okay? And she goes, yeah, I had the strangest dream. Your grandfather and Tara came and told me they were okay.
Oh, wow.
And they missed me and that they had to go. And I was just like bawling. I had the same dream, like, I don't know, man.
Wow.
Yeah, so cool. So I don't know. I don't like. It's not quite a ghost story, but it was.
I think that counts. I mean, that's a fantastic, supernaturally, holy smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a Brave St. Saturn song on the last Brave St. Saturn album called Battle Creek, and it's to my dad. And I put a line in there. I had a dream your father came to me and, gosh, I can't remember the words. Of course I can't remember the words, but like told me that he is alive and well and waiting up for you. And that's what that's about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. Jeez. I kind of feel like at this point I don't want to go on like that. No, it kind of seems like the perfect place to end. Like to keep like the next whatever the next one is like, hey, do we have any more clothing tips? Like
We can save that for next time.
yeah. I think we should end it right here. That's phenomenal just to think and marinate, and that was a good story, man.
Thanks, man.
I'm kind of speechless.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are a few things that have happened to me that I can't explain away in being a Christian, where I'm just like,
Yeah.
I have to go back to that default. Like, I think my grandfather, who was a good giving person and a good Christian, and my aunt, who also was a good Christian, I think just came back to give me that message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I had it comes nowhere close to your story, but when I was a kid, I had a dream one night where I was in a room and the room was all glass. It was glass all around it, except the door, the wall that had the door on it that you couldn't see through. So 3 sides of this room were glass, one side was wall, and then it had a door. And we were all in there, and I knew that we were all in this room waiting to be basically like raptured. Like, I knew in my dream that the reason I was in this room is I was waiting to like be taken and go see God. Like that was gonna be it. And when you looked outside through the window, everywhere around it was this sandstorm. It was this crazy sandstorm happening all around this room. And I got to watching like the sandstorm, and had no idea that behind me the doors had opened and everybody was filing out through those doors.
Yeah.
And at the last second, again, I have no clue what any of this means. And so at the last second, the sandstorm kind of quit, kind of calmed down, and it said David written in big rocks out in the sand. So out in the sand, and the sandstorm kind of died down to where you could see the ground, and kind of similar to like if you're stranded on a deserted island and you would write help with coconuts or something. It was David, the name David spelled out in rocks. And as soon as that happened, I heard like gasps in the room, like all these people, it was like gasping for air. And I turned around, and at that point I noticed that the door is open and people are now rushing to get in the door because we hadn't been paying attention that the door was open. And we're all now rushing to get in that door, and the door is closing and the door is closing. And I remember the feeling, and I ended up waking up. I woke up from the dream in a panic before I made it through the door. So where my dream ended, I didn't make it. And I was so panicked.
Yeah.
And I ran up. My mom and dad were sleeping up in their room, and I ran up there and I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, I had this dream. And I couldn't explain it back then like I can now, like over the years, you know, in the time after that, like my brain kind of processed it, and now I can kind of tell the story, but I still don't know what any of it means. But I told it to my mom, and my mom just told me, she's like, well, you know what? I don't know what it means. And she's like, but sometimes God gives us stuff, you know, to kind of help us in our journey.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't be scared of it, because I was like, I don't want to go back to bed. Like, I was terrified. She's like, don't be scared of it. Just be thankful that, you know, God like shared something with you, and maybe one day you'll understand it. And I think the only thing that I understood, like, I don't understand the whole David thing. I don't understand the sandstorm. I don't understand all that. But what I do understand is that panic feeling that I felt that I didn't make it. And that's something that when the Insiders was going, I have used this story. I have told this from stage, you know, amplified through a microphone to people. And just that feeling of not making it, you know, like if it actually happened and Christ came back, and, you know, and I hadn't lived my life the way I should have, and I didn't love Jesus like I should have, and I didn't do those things, and I didn't walk down that Christian path, like that feeling of, I wish I could share that feeling with others that don't know Jesus. So I wish that I could say, hey, you know, I know you don't believe, but just feel this for 1 minute. Like, I wish I could like touch their chest and they could just feel for 5 seconds that panic that I felt. Yeah. And it's like, you don't ever want to feel that. And if that's what it's like when we get to that point, that like, you know, people now, and especially in 2021, great people who have been great Christians have like, well, I don't know if say they were great Christians, but people who were Christians have fallen away from the faith. And the message of Christ has been diluted and contorted to where, you know, Christianity now in the United States is looked at as like this, almost like tyranny of like, all sorts of nonsense. That's another podcast. But, I just want people to be able to see, like, dude, this is real. To me, Christianity is real.
Yeah.
The only way to that, to heaven after is through Christ. And if you don't have that panic that you feel, I never want to experience that again. Like, I never want to experience that again. And I wish other people could feel that panic from that dream. So I did have like one of those dreams before. Again, nothing close to your dream. But I had one of those dreams where, you just wait. I can feel it now as a 44-year-old. And I think when I had that dream, my parents were still sleeping in the same room together and stuff like that. So, I was probably 10. I was probably under the age of 12. I was still probably in elementary school when I had that dream.
Yeah.
And here at 44, it's a worse feeling than, getting on a plane. Like, I hate getting on a plane, but I would get on 1,000 planes to not feel the feeling of that dream of not being able to make it through that door.
Yeah.
And I don't know what was through that door, but in my mind, in the dream, that was salvation. That was where I needed to be. That was God. And so I knew when that door closed, it was going to be separation from God. And I wasn't going to get another chance. Like, I knew all of that in my dream, that once that door closed, it was separation from God. And so again, I don't know what the sandstorm meant. I don't know what David spelled in rocks meant. I don't know what the glass room meant. But what I've taken from it all these years later is that feeling. And just that feeling of knowing I'm going to be separated from God. I don't want to know that.
Anyone who interprets dreams, if you're listening, get back with Joe.
Yes. Yeah. We would love it if you're a prophet out there that can do that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this has been heavy.
Yeah, man.
This last part, but I like it. It's like a good heavy, not a bad heavy.
Sure.
But I don't think we should just keep going on to like ha poo poo pee pee jokes.
No more poo poo pee pee.
No.
No.
Yeah. So we're gonna bring it to an end.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the paid, we appreciate, again, we say it every time, and it's not just lip service. We appreciate you guys paying for this. Words can't describe how much I'm just amazed that you guys listen to this, that you enjoy this, that you guys continue to contact us and talk about things, and I love it. It's like a fantastic part of my life that I get to do. So I appreciate you guys listening and investing in us and investing in this program. You got anything for them?
No, we appreciate you guys and love you. It's been really cool getting to chat with you all on Patreon, and you're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Peace.
See you guys. Bye.
See ya.